Thank you, Richard. Yes, it's true. What a fine venue. It's a superb place. There is a little problem in this country. There's a kind of absolute urgency. One of the great challenges for France is reducing our national debt. I researched this morning. 100% of our GDP, in fact 98.9%, is our debt. 2,200 billion euros. So how can you run a country with such ambitions in the interest of future generations? It's not a cliché, future generations. I have some young people here. Hello, young people. How do we do that with such a slate? And I'm going to call up Bruno Le Maire, the Minister of the Economy and Finances. We'll take care of that slate. Shall we wipe it clean? The floor is yours. Greetings to all of you. Before I answer the very simple question that I've just been asked, I would like to read out a personal message from the French President, Emmanuel Macron, who is very sorry that he could not attend today, but who gave this very simple message to me for you, to read out to you. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you all. You are gathered today on the initiative of Jacques Attali to examine the future with lucidity and confidence. You are women and men in politics, intellectuals, business leaders, entrepreneurs, artists. You create, you innovate every day in your own field, and you have come from all over the world. You embody the diversity of the players who are striving to create a fairer world with more solidarity. You, together, must today imagine the solutions for tomorrow's world. I would like to tell you that I'm very happy and proud to welcome you. I'm proud because you are launching this positive forum here in France, the symbol of a new era for a country where the political life was transformed by the French voters in recent months. You contribute to the new breath of change and renewal that is pervading the country. I support the action of Global Positive Planet, and I think we share the same conclusions. We are now truly in the 21st century, and sometimes we did not realize the extraordinary revolution, or revolutions in the plural, that came with that. We share the same desire to embrace this opportunity-rich century. We must not expect anything, as Gabriel Garcia Marquez said, but it expects everything from us. As you start your proceedings, I have 4 important messages. Think global. The wealth of your future conclusions and your work resides in your multiple horizons and your multiple origins. Think forward. Be ambitious. We have already tried to react in an emergency through an emergency. We must think about long-term challenges. We must think concrete. Our work will succeed if it is not too abstract. Always keep in mind the current status of our society and the expectations of the peoples of the world. Think different. Invent, innovate, push back the limits. The situation we live in is totally new. We must be creative to address these issues. I will receive your conclusions in the spring of 2018. I hope you enjoy these proceedings. I am counting on you. Thank you to all. So I would just like to add a few words after the president, although usually one does not speak after the president. I would just like to answer the question I've just been asked by Jacques Attali. I would like to thank Jacques Attali for his kind invitation. I would like to congratulate him for his permanent creativity. Jacques Attali, when I spoke to him on the phone, said, "Can you explain the meaning of the budget decisions that you're about to make for 2018? And how is an annual budget a reflection of the long term?" I'm saying this in front of the president of the department of the local government, Patrick de Wedenjean, who is a good friend of mine. A budget is always a political commitment. A good budget is a budget that aims for the long term, that does not address instant emergencies, but that addresses a number of priorities. And I would like to tell you how with Gérald Darmanin, the Minister of Public Accounts, with the President, with the Prime Minister, we make decisions to make the budget meaningful. We all want these decisions to be meaningful for the French people. The first decision we have taken is to reduce a certain number of public expenses, reduce public spending of the government, because we consider that with the digital revolution, for instance, we can do better with less money. I remember when I started as Minister of Agriculture in 2009, we were just starting to use computerized declarations for the Common Agricultural Policy. Sometimes they would have huge paper files, almost a meter-high stack of paper. Multiply that by the almost million farms that there are in France. Imagine the red tape, the paper, the people that you need to recruit to manage and examine all of these files. Paperless resources have allowed us to reduce the resources we need to allocate to do this, while improving a quality of public service. Look at your tax. And I'm very proud of that. In France, tax collection is something that works, and it works very well. Some people complain, of course. Go to other European countries and see how tax collection works. They will see it is not a great strength for a country to have a faulty tax system. We are cutting a number of budgets in social spending because we want to focus the spending on those who need it most. And I prefer to reduce spending that is spending for personal comfort and instead increase benefits, unemployment, disability benefits, because we are not doing enough for disabled people in France. So I prefer to have much more money for people with disabilities and save money on useless social spending rather than ruining the French national health system and to be unable to fund the spending. And we are also saving money in local government because we believe that local governments too must take their own share of the effort. This is the first orientation we're giving, reducing public spending, because if public spending were the solution to all of France's problems, we have the highest degree of public spending of every European country. We should have full employment, we should have very high growth, and we should have a trade balance that is not what it is. We have a trade deficit, we have high unemployment, and our growth is low if you compare it to our potential. It's been 30 years that we've been told that we need more and more public spending for things to go better. Well, I believe the opposite. If we want things to go better, we need public spending to be better focused. It needs to address the true needs of the population, of the state, and of the French nation. Second major orientation. We need to comply with our European commitments. And by reducing public spending, it is not merely to obey orders from elsewhere. It's a way to obtain more leeway, to make other investments. It's also a way to be faithful to our European commitments. So you might ask, why so? Why don't we just say, we've been elected, we are a sovereign government, there is no need to comply with our European commitments. But I can tell you that when you are a member of a government and that you are sitting at the European Council with the European partners and that you don't respect your promise, you can ask for such a directive to be changed. You will be told, no, niet, because you are not in compliance with European commitments. A European commitment adds credibility to France's foreign policy. It gives us more political clout. And the President and myself prefer to have a France that is respected and complies with its commitments rather than a France that is despised, that does not comply with its European commitments. It's the second great political choice that we're making, not for 1 year, not for 2 years, but for the entire duration of the presidency. Once you've made these savings, once you've remained committed to Europe, you have more leeway to kickstart the French economy. And that's what we have done with the President, with the Prime Minister, what I was telling entrepreneurs yesterday. We want to cut corporate tax. We also want to cut taxes for families so that people recover a capacity to invest. I'm not going to list all of the technical reduction of corporate tax, no fortune tax for that, common taxation of capital at 30%, getting rid of part of the land tax. It's not a technical decision. It's merely because we want to give our entrepreneurs the opportunity to become profitable, to invent, to invest, and to innovate. There is no other reasonable choice for France. Innovation is key for our country's economic future. And today, although there are many French startups that are fantastic, a few high-tech companies that are very successful, we can do much better. The current technological revolution will not wait for us. The major transformations of artificial intelligence will not wait for us. We must find the necessary resources for our entrepreneurs to invest, innovate. There are people here from the automotive industry. Jean Todt is here. He knows very well that these are incredible innovations. We changed the exhaust system on cars with catalytic exhaust pipes. It's an incremental change, but now we're having true breakthroughs. We're going to have driverless cars going around, avoiding obstacles, anticipating obstacles, interacting with all of the other vehicles around it. That is a true breakthrough, and France must stay in the lead, innovate, and be a leading European country. In a few weeks, I shall be announcing the start of the privatization of part of the state's stake in a number of industrial companies. I prefer companies that invest in the future rather than manage their dividends. I prefer to have financial resources by privatizing to fund innovation rather than sitting behind my desk managing passively the dividends which we receive every year. That is the role of the state. Invest, prepare, innovate. And that is what a good budget, the purpose a good budget serves, that we have more leeway for France to remain a leader in technology and innovation. Final great orientation. All of this only makes sense if we think global and if we think big, to use Jacques Attali's words. Beyond public spending, beyond the savings that we're trying to find, beyond the resources we're going to dedicate to innovation, what is the key economic question? I'm saying this in front of all of you in this room, all of the young people here. I am a father of 4, aged 6 to 17. The question of the economy, the most important question in the economy, is the question of education. Education is the key to everything else. All the rest, the tax decisions, the budget decisions, are important, but the essential question is education. And the transformation of our education system, which we're working on with Jean-Michel Blanquer, with the Prime Minister and President, are a manner for France to say that they're thinking about future generations, understanding that in the face of these technical revolutions, it's not just our productive tool that needs to be transformed, it's our entire education system. The primary school needs to teach our kids to learn how to read, write, and count. The sciences have lost their value in education. We need scientific education that is strong, that is powerful. We need to have traineeships. It's not normal that when I go to the Valley of the Arve in the Alps to see people who work in steel, in machine tools, people in factories cannot find maintenance technicians for their machinery because they are not being trained in France. There is a lack of engineers, although we have some of the best engineering schools in the world. So yes, the question of education is the key question for the economy. And I would go even further than that. It's not just training. It's also a mindset. We need to teach our children the taste of conquest, the liberty, the freedom of entrepreneurship, the acceptance of reality, to face new ideas, to become more open towards the world, to show that France is not a small, lifeless country, but a great nation that has the capacity to invent the innovations of the future, that can seize upon these opportunities, that can build upon them, that can make them a true strength for the future. I would add, in conclusion, a few perhaps slightly more provocative comments. If we want to allow our startups to develop, if we want the ideas, the culture of innovation and entrepreneurship to grow, we need to stop saying that our enemy is finance. We need finance to develop our startups, our economy, and our companies. Responsible finance that avoids abusing the situation and avoids excesses. And excesses will be punished. But we need finance to develop our startups, our businesses, our ideas, our projects. Second idea, dear to my heart, all of these proposals that I'm developing here in front of you only make sense for us, the French people, if they fall within a more global European framework. We cannot develop France if at the same time we do not strengthen Europe. Let us not be naive. Behind the great poetry of the Silk Roads of China, there is a desire of economic expansion and conquest, and we need to stand fast. American decisions of extraterritorial sanctions threaten our economic and industrial interests directly. We cannot remain passive. We must be strong. And we can achieve this with a united Europe that can resist China, that can resist the US, that can set its own rules, its own standards, its own vision of trade, of the economy. There is a Chinese continent, there is an American continent, there must be a European political continent. And perhaps a final remark, and perhaps the most important of all of these economic transformations, this European transformation, this ability to seize upon technological innovations must not be to the benefit of a few, but to the benefit of all. And to all the young people in this room, I would say this is the greatest challenge you will have to face in coming years. Technological revolutions must not lead to an increase of inequality in our country. That would be unbearable. Economic transformations must not benefit just a few who are educated, trained, and open. They must benefit to all. No one must be left to one side. We cannot have rich people who are ever more rich and poor people who are ever more poor. We need a unified society in which everyone fits in, where everyone can say, I can achieve I can leverage my talent. I can reach my dreams. Nothing is out of my reach. That is what I wish for all of you here, for my own children, as a politician. That every young person in France can say, none of my dreams are beyond my reach. Thank you.
Merci Bruno Le Maire.